Welcome back. There is a live look outside from the Oregon coast. That's our In It Spanish Head Resort Hotel camera in Lincoln City. Thanks for watching Afternoon Live. Okay, the enormous waves of a king tide are not only spectacular to watch, but the low tides can reveal amazing wildlife and sights often missed by beachgoers. Here to share what causes a king tide cycle and how we can safely explore its wonders, we welcome back the author of Let's Explore the Beach, Karen DeWitz. It's so nice to see you.
It's so nice to be back. Thank you for having me.
King tides are exciting, but safety first, right?
Absolutely,
okay.
Safety first. Always on the beach. Respect the ocean.
Respect the ocean.
Always.
So we have a big event coming up this weekend where people can experience king tides locally.
We do.
Okay.
Okay, so starting on about the 11th, there's going to be a king tide in our area, and you're going to see giant waves. And a lot of times you'll see photos on social media of people kind of lined up along Depot Bay where the waves come crashing over the walkway. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Safety first.
You don't have to be that close to experience the spectacle.
If you want to see the king tide portion of the king tide cycle, where there are the high tides and the amazing waves, go somewhere high. There are so many beautiful parks and pullouts and vantage points where you can watch from up high, and it's a really amazing spectacle to see.
Can we talk about how this happens? What causes a king tide?
Absolutely. Okay. So you have to picture the planet Earth, and it's surrounded by water. So you have the rock of the Earth, and here we have a little picture that I have in my book. You have the rock of the Earth and then the water. And the moon, lots of people know that the moon is involved in the tides, but this is how it's involved in the tides. The moon has gravity and the Earth has gravity, and they kind of pull against each other, and that's what keeps the moon and the Earth like separated and going where they go in the sky. And the moon pulls on the Earth, and the water kind of creates a bulge toward the moon. Okay. And occasionally, a couple times a year, when we get a little bit closer to the moon, and the sun lines up also with the moon and the Earth, those bulges get bigger. So the Earth, we're still circling, we're still rotating inside those bulges. When you go to the bulgy part, it's high tide. And when you rotate on the Earth over to the little narrow part, it's low tide. And so every day there are 2 high tides where the bulges are and 2 low tides where it's narrower. On a king tide, that means you've got your sun, your moon, everything's all lined up. It's pulling really, really hard. And those bulges are higher and the low parts are lower. So you're going to have really, really, really high tides and really, really, really low tides.
Which brings us to all the beautiful things that we can see when those low tides go out during these time frames.
Absolutely. And if you want to know when the tides are, just FYI, the easiest thing to do is go online and Google tide tables and the name of the town that you're going to. But if you want to be old school, you can go to like a fishing shop or some kind of a bait store, and they have those little books, and they'll have a table, and what you'll see are numbers. The lower the number, it's a low tide. Sometimes they're negative. That means it's lower than lowest. And the really big ones are when the high tide is. So shoot for the low tide after a king tide, high tide, and what you're going to see is all of the stuff that gets churned up along the ocean. This is what's called the rack line. And in the rack line, you're going to find agates and shells and all of the detritus that gets washed up out of the ocean. It's actually, you know, it's an agate hunter's dream right after the biggest tides. But also you might find other living things along in that swath of stuff that you don't normally see. You're going to see different sea jellies. This one was being held by a nice, brave gal working down at one of the beaches.
Braver than me. That's good.
a lot of the sea jellies we have that come up along the coast in Oregon are fine to touch, but not all of them. So if you don't know the difference and you don't have my book or another field guide with you, maybe don't touch them.
That's a good point.
There you go.
And all kinds of stuff. I mean,
Absolutely.
You can really see almost anything come up here. What's this photo?
This is just a giant log, and I really want to go back again to the safety factor.
Yes.
A lot of people, if they go down onto the beach during the high tide portion of a king tide, they think, hey, I'm going to find a safe harbor up on these beautiful, huge logs that have washed ashore. But you need to remember that the logs got there by floating.
Right.
And if you're on a big, giant, multiple-ton log and water comes in, the log is going to raise up into the water and can flip on you. It's a super, super unsafe thing to do on the beach.
Don't do that. Okay, tell me about a mermaid purse. What is this?
Mermaid's purse. This is a really cool thing that you can most often find in the wintertime and during king tides. It is an egg sac for, this one is an egg sac for a skate, but also sharks have, their egg sacs are also called mermaid purses.
Oh, wow.
And when they come up on the beach, sometimes you'll see a mermaid purse where the shark has actually hatched out of the egg sac. But sometimes they actually have little babies inside them. So it's fun to look at. It's really fascinating. You can sometimes see what's happening inside. Probably not something you want to take home in your car.
Okay.
Because, you know, live things smell. You know.
Okay, interesting to see.
Fascinating, and the name Mermaid's Purse is also super fun.
Yeah, come on. And there's something cool that happens specifically in the Nesquin area.
And yes, absolutely, the Nesquin Ghost Forest. Nesquin is a small town just north of Lincoln City in the Central Coast. And in the late 90s, these tree stumps got uncovered in one of these giant winter tide events. And what they are 2,000-year-old trees, Sitka spruce trees, that were covered suddenly in a tsunami, is what they think happened. And because trees don't really rot a lot in salt water, they're still there. They're not rotten. They're still trees. They're not fossils. And they are, a lot of times you'll see them and they'll be covered with barnacles and other sea life. And this particular one is one of the tree stumps. I personally think it looks like Sasquatch.
It does. I'm like, what is that guy coming out of the water?
Coming up out of the ocean.
Wow.
He's a barnacle-covered 2,000-year-old Sitka spruce. But the Ghost Forest is just really, really cool. It is one of the high points, I think, of going to the coast in the winter time, and especially after these big storms, because they get covered up by sand, and then they get, the sand goes away in the storms. And so
that's fascinating.
Yeah, it is very cool.
I love storm watching on the coast, and when you can kind of line all the pieces up and see those spectacular low tide events too, I mean, how fun.
Exactly.
What a great idea.
It is a great idea.
Nice to see you.
It's great to be back.
Thank you so much. You always shared the best things. Okay, Karen's book again is Let's Explore the Beach. We'll have more information on our website at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.